Hey guys, what's up? So today we're going to be looking at compound interest. All right, guys. And this is really cool. I'm not going to lie, this is amazingly cool. And the definition here says compound interest or compounding interest is interest calculated on the initial principal, which also includes all of the accumulated interests of the previous periods of a deposit or investment. Thought to have originated in the 17th century Italy, compound interest can be thought of as interest on interest. And I really like this, guys, because that's exactly what it is. It's interest on your interest. It's just amazing. Okay? It's really amazing. All right, guys. So let me give you an example here. Okay? And it says here if you invest $1,000 at 10% for 3 years compounded, right? What would you end up with here, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to use simple interest to calculate the interest each year. And I'm going to show you that it really compounds. In this case, you have to take into consideration the interest that you gain each year. Okay? So let's just do that. Let's do it for the first year. So let's call this year 1, right? Yeah, let's just call it 1 for year 1. And you find 10% of $1,000, right? Which is the same simple interest way, right? PIT, P, I, and T. The time period is 1 year. Cool. So you're going to end up with these zeros canceling these, right? And you're going to end up with $100. Cool. So you gain $100 in interest for the first year. But now when you calculate in the second year now, right, you have to account this $100 into consideration because you gain that interest. So you go add this $100 to the $1,000 now. So for the second year is $1,000 plus the $100 that you gained in interest, right, which is the principal, multiplied by the investment again, no, multiplied by the interest, sorry, which is 10%, multiplied by the year, which is 1, same PIT, right? But in this case now, you're going to end up with 1100, right? Let me just put it over here, 1100 multiplied by 10 over 100. And then these two zeros cancel these two, and you end up with 110, right? Okay, so for the last one now, for the last year, the third year, you actually have to add this 110 to the 1100. Cool. So you're going to end up with 1100 plus the 110 multiplied by 10 over 100 multiplied by 1. Same thing. P, I, and T, right? Remember the simple interest formula is equal to PIT over 100, right? In this case, the 100 is down here. All right, so we're actually going to end up with, right, 1,210 multiplied by 10 over 100. And you're going to end up with these two zeros cancel these two zeros, and you're going to end up with 121. Cool. So the amount that you have at the end of the year is the 1210, right, plus the 121, which would be equal to 1331. Okay. So instead of ending up with just $1,300, like with simple interest, because you just get $100 each year, you end up with 1331, right? So instead of $1,300 after the 3 years, you end up with an extra $31. And that extra $31 can go a far way, ladies and gentlemen. It can go a far way, all right? And over the long term, man, it can make an astronomical difference. It's just unbelievable. All right. So, but you actually don't have to even do all of this. You know that, guys? Like, you don't even have to do it this way. This was just showing you the simple interest and how it connects to compound interest. Let me show you something amazing now. All we have to do is use this formula. Cool? So let's just look at the formula now. Alright guys, so this is the formula now. The compound interest formula is equal to P, it's the same PIT, right? P multiplied by, open bracket, 1 plus I over 100 to the T, okay? To the time period, to the power of T. Alright, so this is the formula, guys. Formula. Alright, this is the formula. And let's use the formula to find the same answer here. Cool? So for the compound interest for that same question, we're going to end up with $1,000, right? Times 1 plus I, which is the 10%, over 100 to the T, right? So it's to the 3 in this case. So you're going to end up with 1,000 times 1.1, the 10 over 100 is 0.1 to the 3. And if you put this in your calculator, guys, calculators are encouraged in this section, so make sure you use your calculator, and formulas are encouraged. Formula is encouraged, guys. So this is the time when you're going to use formulas now. And you're going to end up with 1331. Cool. So it shows you how easy the formula can make life. And compound interest is just really interesting, guys. Like, I'm gonna show you some real life examples from some really powerful minds in terms of how you can use compound interest to your advantage. All right, guys. All right, so let's look at an example. Okay. All right, guys. So great. So let's look at this example here, and it says calculate the compound interest when investing $6,000 at 7% per annum for a period of 5 years. Okay, so it's 5 years at 7% per year, and the principal is 6,000. All right. Okay, so let's just use a formula, right? Remember, the compound interest is actually equal to P multiplied by 1 plus I over 100 to the T. Okay. All right, guys. So this is actually equal to the compound interest plus the principal. Okay. So this is really the accrued interest. All right. All right, guys. So we're gonna use the same formula we used earlier, right? The compound interest is equal to the principal times 1 plus I over 100 to the T, to the power T, right? But I'm gonna put a little a here, okay? ACI, and the A means it's the accrued interest. Cool. So you notice when we did the problem earlier with the $1,000, it ended up being 1331, right? So it included the principal with it, and the interest was 331, right? So that's why I'm putting A here, because it's really the accrued amount. Okay, it's the principal and the compound interest. Okay, so this is the formula for the accrued interest, and to find the compound interest itself, you have to subtract. To find the compound interest itself, it's the accrued amount minus the principal. All right, guys. Okay, so let's just calculate that. Okay, so we're gonna get 6,000. In this case, the principal is 6,000 times 1 plus 7%, so it's 7 over 100 to a period of 5 years. Cool. So we're going to end up with 6,000 times 1.07. 7 over 100 is 0.07 to the 5. So how we calculate this now? We're going to put this part in the calculator first. 1.07 to the 5. Cool. 1.07 to the 5. Then we're going to multiply that by 6,000. Cool. All right. And the answer is actually 8,415.3 0.31. Cool. So that's the answer, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. And but remember, this is the accrued amount, right? This is the interest plus the principal. This is not just the compound interest. So we need to find just the interest only, okay? Which is the accrued compound interest minus the principal, right? So this is actually 8415 minus 0.31, sorry. 0.31, 8415.31 minus the principal, which is the 6,000, right? And you're going to end up with 2415.31. And this is the compound interest, guys. This is the interest. All right, this is the total interest that was added to the principal to get the accrued compound interest, okay, to get the accrued amount. All right, so great. So let's look at another example. Let's look at one more example. All right, guys. Hey, guys. So back in the next question now, and let's read the question. It says, Michael decides that he wants to make investments and finally put his money to work for him. Cool. You can really put your money to work for you guys, okay? And he decides to buy a $100,000 US bond, which gives a return of 8% per annum. After 7 years, he looks back on the day he walked into the bank and is very happy he made the investment, right? He's really happy he made this investment. His money has compounded. Calculate how much money he has today, right? And calculate how much interest he earned, okay? All right, so let's just do that then. Let's do the first question here. How much money does he have today? And remember the formula, guys. We're going to use the accumulated compound interest formula. So call it ACI. It's equal to the principal times 1 plus I over 100 to the T. Okay, so let's just put the formula over here. ACI, that's the accumulated amount with the compound interest, is P times 1 plus I over 100 to the T. All right, guys, so the two formulas we need when using compound interest is, the first one is the accumulated amount with the interest, which is, I'm gonna call it CI and A, right? So this is the accumulated amount, and to find the compound interest, which is just the interest only, it would be the compound interest, the accrued compound interest with the principal minus the principal, right? Cool, because this is actually the interest, the compound interest, and the principal. Okay. All right, cool. So let's work out the question now. Let's work out A. It says, how much money does he have today? So we're going to use the same formula here, the accumulated amount, and it's going to be 100,000 multiplied by 1 plus 8. It's 8% per annum. 8 over 100 to the 7. Cool. So we should actually end up with 100,000 times 1.08 to the 7. All right, and we're going to use our calculators, guys. And the calculator, it should be 1.08. You always work out this part first, right? So it's 1.08 to the 7. And then you multiply it by the 100,000. And you're going to get, the answer is 171,382.43. All right, so this guy is looking back saying, wow, you know, I put $100,000 down 7 years ago and now I have almost double. I have $71,000 extra. You know, I could take this $71,000 and buy a Benz, you know. So it worked out. It really worked out because he was patient and he decided to make the money work for him, not work for the money, you know. All right, so but we need to find how much interest he earned. okay? And to find how much interest he earned, which is just the compound interest, CI is equal to the accumulated amount, the 171,382.43, minus the principal, which is 100,000, right? So you're actually going to end up with the compound interest being 71,382.43. And that's the answer, guys. All right. So this is a really good concept to learn. And let me just clear the screen and put the two formulas, okay? All right, guys. So these are the two formulas we're going to need to know when we're dealing with compound interest. All right, guys. So these are the two formulas we need to know when we're dealing with compound interest, okay? We need to know that this is the accumulated amount, right? The principal and the compound interest, right? The ACI formula, right? And it's the same thing. It's PIT, P-I-T, right? But there's a 1 plus I over 100 to the t, right? Very similar to the simple interest formula. Cool. Then the next one now, the actual compound interest, which is just the compound interest only, you'd have to subtract this, the accrued amount, from the principal. Cool. And these are the only two formulas we need to know for compound interest. Everything else we can calculate with these two formulas. We're pretty much good now. All right. And guys, I'm gonna give you a real life example for this. Give us 1 second here. Let's just look at this video, this clip in particular, and see how it works in your favor. All right, guys.
The allowance when I was a little boy was a nickel a week, but I liked the idea of having a little more than a nickel a week to work with, and I went into business very early. I started selling Coca-Cola door to door. I sold gum door to door, or sold Saturday Ink Post, Liberty Magazine, Ladies Home Journal, you name it. I think I enjoyed the game almost right from the start. But I like being my own boss. That's one thing I liked about delivering papers. I could arrange the route I wanted. Nobody was bothering me at 5 or 6 in the morning. I was delivering 500 papers a day, and I made a penny a paper, but in terms of compounding, that penny turned into something else. Einstein is reputed to have said that compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world or something like that. And it goes back to that story you probably learned when you were in grade school, where somebody did something for the king, and the king said, "What can I do for you?" And he said, "Well, let's take a chessboard and put 1 kernel of wheat on the first square, and then double it on the second and double it on the third." And the king readily agreed to it, and by the time he figured out what 2 to the 64th amounted to, he was giving away the entire kingdom. So it's a pretty simple concept, but over time, it accomplishes extraordinary things.
All right, guys. So that's it. And I'll see you in the next lecture. And remember to do your best, and God will do the rest.